Chosen one, stop for a moment because something has already shifted, and rushing past this instant would mean missing the weight of what just aligned around you. This did not arrive gently to soothe you. It arrived with precision, with intention, with the kind of quiet force that doesn't ask for permission before rearranging the atmosphere. You felt it before you understood it. A sudden stillness, a tightening of focus, a sense that the noise dropped away without explanation. That was not imagination. That was recognition. There are moments when life doesn't whisper or shout. It locks in, like a switch flipped behind the walls, changing the current everywhere at once. You didn't trigger it by effort. You didn't earn it by strain. It happened because the timing finally caught up with who you are now. Not who you used to be when you were trying harder, hoping louder, waiting with tension in your chest. You've carried yourself through chapters where nothing confirmed your faith in the process. Chapters where movement was slow and answers were scarce. And yet, something in you refused to collapse into bitterness or noise. You stayed upright. You stayed observant. You stayed open without becoming careless. That restraint mattered more than you know. It shaped the way this moment could find you without resistance. Right now, you're standing at a threshold that doesn't announce itself with drama. It announces itself with gravity, the kind that pulls your attention inward and says, "Don't move yet." Not because there's danger, but because there's alignment settling into place. Some things require your stillness more than your action. This is not about anticipation. It's about confirmation arriving before explanation. About a signal reaching you not to excite you, but to steady you. To let you know that what has been unfolding quietly has crossed a point of no return. The preparation phase is no longer active. The positioning is complete. What comes next will move because it can, not because it's being pushed. You may notice a change in how you're breathing, how your thoughts line up instead of racing, how the need to check, verify, or predict has eased. That's not loss of interest. That's authority settling in. When something is truly aligned, it doesn't demand your anxiety to function. It operates cleanly, calmly, without negotiation. Think of this as the moment in a film where the main character realizes the chase is over. Not because the destination has been reached, but because the path is finally clear. The obstacles that mattered have already done their work. They shaped you. They slowed you just enough to make sure what arrives now doesn't overwhelm you or distort you. This signal didn't come to warn you, came to orient you, to bring your attention back to center. To remind you that what's unfolding is not random, not rushed, and not reversible. You don't need to brace yourself. You need to remain present. What's aligned with you recognizes calm, not force. Stay here in this moment. Let the weight of it register fully. You are not waiting for something to begin. You are witnessing something that has already begun to move in your direction. Quietly, intentionally, without spectacle. And as this pause holds, as the air feels heavier with meaning, understand this much. You were able to receive this signal because you were ready to carry what follows. Not later, not someday. Now, pause here. Chosen one, there's a firmness in the air now, as if the moment itself has decided to stand its ground and ask you to meet it without distraction. What you sensed earlier wasn't a surge of emotion, it was a recalibration. A tightening of focus that doesn't come from urgency, but from clarity. When something important locks into place, it doesn't rush you forward. It steadies you exactly where you are. That steadiness is deliberate. It's how alignment confirms itself before it allows anything else to move. You may feel an unusual calm beneath your thoughts, a sense that the internal debate has gone quiet, not because everything is solved, but because something deeper has taken over. This is the difference between wanting answers and being ready for outcomes. Answers satisfy curiosity. Outcomes change direction. And what's near you now carries weight, not explanation. You didn't arrive at this point by accident or by repetition. You arrived because you learned how to endure without becoming rigid, how to stay aware without being consumed by expectation. You learned how to listen to what wasn't being said, how to notice what didn't announce itself. That awareness shaped you more than visible progress ever could. There are movements happening beyond your immediate awareness that don't require your supervision. Arrangements adjusting, pathways clearing, elements aligning with a precision that doesn't need your confirmation to continue. This isn't something you initiate. It's something you recognize. Recognition is your role here, not effort. Notice how the pressure to decide has eased. How the impulse to prepare for every possibility has softened. That's because the moment no longer needs your anticipation. It needs your composure. When preparation has finished its work, it steps aside and lets presence take over. Presence is quieter, but far more effective. You might sense a narrowing of focus now. Certain concerns fall away without struggle. Certain directions feel irrelevant without explanation. This isn't confusion, it's selection. When alignment sharpens, it doesn't add more options. It refines them. It removes what would distract you from what's actually approaching. Think of this as the instant before a door opens inward. No push required. No resistance. Just a subtle shift of weight, and the space responds. You don't hear the hinge. You don't see the mechanism. You only feel the change in air as possibility moves closer. What's important to understand is this. Nothing coming toward you is meant to destabilize you. It's meant to match you, to meet the version of you that exists now. Not the one that was anxious, not the one that was waiting for permission, not the one that doubted their footing. This moment recognizes growth without congratulating it. It simply responds. There's a reason this signal didn't arrive earlier. Not because you weren't worthy, but because you weren't settled. Certain things require a steady receiver. They don't land well in restless hands. They don't unfold clearly in crowded minds. You needed this clarity not as a reward but as a condition. Stay attentive without reaching. Stay aware without scanning ahead. The next movement will not demand a decision from you. It will invite a response that feels natural, almost obvious. That's how you'll know it's real. Reality doesn't strain your nervous system. It aligns with it. As this part of the story holds, let the stillness do its work. You don't need to name what's coming. You don't need to shape it in advance. You only need to remain present enough to recognize it when it steps fully into view. And when that happens, you won't feel surprised. You'll feel prepared without having rehearsed. Pause here. Chosen one, the weight you're feeling now isn't pressure, it's gravity, the kind that settles when something real moves close enough to influence everything around it. This is the stage where distraction loses its power. You're not forcing focus. It's happening on its own. The noise that once competed for your attention no longer holds the same pull. What remains feels dense, deliberate, unmistakable. That's how you know this isn't imagination. Imagination scatters. Alignment concentrates. There's a reason your posture has changed internally. You're no longer leaning forward, hoping to catch what's coming. You're standing upright, grounded, as if the ground itself has confirmed your position. That shift didn't come from motivation. It came from readiness. When readiness arrives, it doesn't energize, it stabilizes. What's unfolding now doesn't need your permission to proceed. It only needed your capacity to receive without interference. You've reached that capacity. You can feel it in the way your reactions have slowed, in the way urgency has drained from your decisions. You're no longer asking, "Is this for me?" You're asking, "How do I stay clear while it arrives?" This is the difference between wanting movement and being trusted with it. There were times when you would have tried to control this moment. Label it, rush it, explain it to yourself until it lost its power. That version of you needed reassurance. This version doesn't. You've learned that some things reveal themselves fully only when you stop circling them. Only when you let them approach on their own terms. You may notice that your instincts feel sharper now, but quieter. Less commentary. More direction. When intuition matures, it stops speaking in questions and starts communicating in certainty. Not loud certainty. Clean certainty. The kind that doesn't argue with alternatives because it recognizes what fits immediately. This phase doesn't require courage in the dramatic sense. It requires restraint, the ability to hold still when everything in you once wanted to move, the discipline to stay present when the mind wants to jump ahead. That restraint is not passive. It's active alignment. It's how you keep the channel clear. Think of this moment as the point in the film where the background music fades completely. No cues, no emotional guidance, just the character standing in silence, realizing the silence itself is the message. You're there now. The absence of noise isn't emptiness. It's confirmation. You are not being tested. Tests create tension. This moment creates coherence. You're not being asked to prove anything or perform correctly. You're being asked to remain intact as what's next comes into proximity. Integrity matters here, not moral perfection, but internal consistency. Being the same on the inside as you are on the outside. What's approaching doesn't respond to urgency or anxiety. It responds to clarity. It moves toward stability. That's why this signal didn't come when you were searching. It came when you were steady enough to receive without distorting it. Stay aware of how grounded you feel. That groundedness is not temporary. It's the result of alignment finishing its work. When alignment completes, movement becomes inevitable but never chaotic. It arrives with order, with respect, with a sense that nothing needs to be forced. This is not the reveal yet. This is the lock-in. The moment when everything necessary has settled into position and nothing essential is missing. You don't need to anticipate what comes next to be ready for it. You already are. And as this pause holds, firm, clear, undeniable, trust what your intuition has stopped questioning. The signal reached you because you were stable enough to carry what follows without losing yourself in it. Stay here. The next movement will not rush you. It will recognize you. Chosen one, there is a certainty forming now that doesn't need momentum to exist. Like a door that is already unlocked, waiting only for the right hand to rest on it. You may notice how little effort it takes to remain steady. The impulse to prepare, to rehearse outcomes, to imagine every possibility has gone quiet. Not because you stopped caring, but because something deeper has taken over the work. This is what happens when alignment finishes its task and hands control to clarity. Clarity doesn't rush. It holds. What's near you now isn't approaching to test you or impress you. It's approaching because the conditions are finally correct. Not perfect, correct. There's a difference. Perfection demands control. Correctness recognizes readiness. You've reached a point where the signal can land cleanly, without distortion, without being filtered through doubt or urgency. There was a time when this moment would have overwhelmed you. Not because it was too big, but because you were still carrying noise that didn't belong to you. Expectations that weren't yours. Timelines borrowed from others. Pressures that pulled you out of your own rhythm. Those have fallen away quietly, one by one, until only what matters remained. That clearing wasn't accidental. It was necessary. You're sensing now that the space around you feels intentional, less crowded, more precise. That precision is a sign of respect. When something meaningful draws near, it doesn't arrive into chaos. It arrives into order. It finds a place that's been made ready without strain. You didn't have to announce that readiness. It was recognized. There is a subtle confidence in how you're holding yourself internally. Not the kind that seeks validation, but the kind that doesn't need it. You're not waiting to be told that you're allowed to move forward. You're aware that movement will come when it's appropriate, and that awareness keeps you grounded. Groundedness is the language this moment understands. Think of this phase as the final alignment before motion, when everything is measured, balanced, and still. No adjustments left to make. No corrections needed. Just a quiet assurance that when the next step occurs, it will be clean. It will not require recovery or explanation. It will fit. You might feel an unfamiliar ease in your chest, a sense that the future doesn't need to be monitored. That ease isn't complacency. It's trust informed by experience. You've seen enough to know that forcing outcomes never produced the clarity you needed. Allowing alignment did. That lesson lives in you now, and it's shaping what comes next. This is not the moment for anticipation. Anticipation leans forward. This moment asks you to remain centered, to let the signal continue doing its work without interference, to resist the urge to name what's coming before it arrives. Some things lose their precision when they're handled too early. You are not behind. You are not catching up. You are exactly placed. Stable enough to receive, clear enough to recognize, calm enough to respond without losing yourself. That combination is rare. That's why this signal found you now and not before. Stay with this steadiness. Let it anchor you. Nothing is suspended. Nothing is uncertain in the way you once feared. What's next is already aligned with the version of you that exists here, in this moment, composed, attentive, intact. And when the movement finally reveals itself, it won't disrupt this calm. It will confirm it. Hold here. This pause is doing important work. Chosen one, there is a quiet finality to this pause, as if the moment itself has said, everything that needed to settle has settled. Notice how the air feels different now. Not charged with urgency, anchored with intention. This is the kind of stillness that comes after decisions have already been made beyond your awareness. You are not waiting for approval. You are standing inside alignment that no longer needs adjustment. When that happens, the sense of uncertainty dissolves on its own. You may realize that the questions you once carried have lost their edge. They're still there, but they no longer demand answers. They've softened into understanding. That's not resignation. That's maturity of intuition. When intuition matures, it stops asking when and starts recognizing now. What's important here is not what you do next, but how you remain while things begin to move. Movement doesn't always announce itself with change you can see. Sometimes it announces itself by removing resistance, by making the path feel clear instead of crowded, by allowing what's meant for you to approach without friction. You are not being pushed forward. You are being met. There is a deep reason this signal didn't come during your loud seasons. It waited for your composure, for your ability to stay present without chasing confirmation, for your willingness to trust the unfolding without demanding control. Those qualities created a stable point of contact. That stability is what allows what's next to arrive intact. Think of this as the moment just before the first step becomes obvious. Not because you've planned it, but because it's the only one that fits. No debate, no pressure. Just a natural continuation of where you already are. That's how aligned movement works. Feels inevitable, not forced. You may sense a subtle readiness in your body. An alert calm, a grounded awareness. Not excitement. Not tension. Readiness without noise. That state is rare. It's also unmistakable. When you're in it, you don't need reassurance. You don't need urgency. You know you'll respond correctly when the moment calls. This is not the climax yet. This is the confirmation that the foundation can support what follows. That you can receive without scrambling. That you can move without losing your center. That you can recognize what belongs without second-guessing yourself. Stay with this presence. Don't rush to define it. Don't dilute it by imagining outcomes. Let it remain clean. Let it remain precise. Precision matters here more than speed. What's next will not interrupt your life. It will integrate into it. It will not require you to abandon who you are. It will meet you where you stand and align with the steadiness you've built. That's how you'll know it's real. The signal didn't come to stir you up. It came to confirm that you're ready to move forward without losing yourself. And as this pause completes its work, trust this truth. Nothing essential is missing. Nothing is out of place. Nothing needs to be forced. Remain here. The next movement is already aware of you.